New Media Museum's Colloquium. Thank you for coming back, and we're kicking off a bit later, but we'll try to stick to the schedule. It would be great if you also stick to the schedule. Let me introduce great guests who came from Prague, Markéta Jonášová, and Michal Klodner and Matʕj Strnad, who worked together in a Národní filmový archiv, and they will introduce you the project they've been working on over the past 2-3 years. So the floor is yours.
Jo, a tak to můžeme asi nechat takhle. Tak. Jo. Okay. Dobré ráno, good morning everyone. Thank you for joining us so early. I would like to introduce Národní filmový archiv Prague, and my name is Markéta Jonášová and I work as a curator at Národní filmový archiv, and together with me there is Michal Klodner, who is the digital curator, and the head of curators, Matʕj Strnad. And because yesterday we had a lot of discussions about how collaboration is really at the heart of new media and time-based media preservation, so there is even more colleagues of ours here. There's also Silva Poláková over there, who's also very much involved in the video archive project as a leader, and she's also a curator. And then there's also Jonáš Svatoš, who is the head of Audiovisual collection. So we very much work as a team, which is great, and I'll get back to it at a later point as well. So our presentation is about a particular project that we have been working on, and also about how to sustain a research project in long term. So I will start with a brief introduction and then pass my words to Michal and later to Matʕj. Just to briefly introduce Národní filmový archiv, Prague. It is one of the oldest and largest film archives in the world. It was established already in 1949. Its mission is to take care of Czech film heritage, and by that it's not concerned just with film materials, but also with all the related documentation, including scripts, audio recordings, and other form of documents like photographs. So there is a great advantage, as you will see also later on, because the archive already has quite a big infrastructure developed for taking care of all these different materials as well. And recently, so traditionally it would be focused mostly on the traditional cinematography, but recently there has been more focus on expanding this also to more border fields, let's say. So a few years ago, National Film Archive conducted large research on Laterna Magica, which is a very unique phenomena on the border of dance, theater, and cinema. And 2 years ago, we started our project called Video Archive, or in Czech, Video Archiv. One of the main impulses for this project to take place was that in 2019, the audiovisual art collection of the Academic Research Center of the Academy of Fine Arts, it's a long title, so you can also see it in the presentation, was transferred to Národní filmový archiv. And this collection really consists of hundreds of audiovisual works from mostly the field of visual arts. And they were basically transferred to us in the form of one hard drive that we started processing and developing all the methodology needed to take care of the works that have been stored there. So in 2020, we started the project with its full name, the audiovisual work outside the context of cinematography, documentation, archiving, and accessibility, which we refer to as just the video archive. And our aim has been to create a long-term sustainable strategy for preserving and presenting audiovisual works from the field of visual art that have elements of moving image involved, by which I mean that we mostly deal with audiovisual art that is commonly referred to as experimental films, video art, or art installations. The scope of our project does not really include software art or computer art. And also, that's something important to mention. We are not, as a film archive, we are not dealing with object components, which makes our work much easier as well. So we are mostly concerned with digitalization. So as a part of this project, we would like to create, and we are creating, guidelines, infrastructure, and standards for long-term storage. And at the same time, we are thinking about strategies for making these works accessible for wide public. And last but not least, because it is a research project, we really would like to, for other art museums and institutions, to appropriate or adapt or make use of the guidelines that we are developing, and also think of other forms of long-term collaboration between the film archive and art museums, mostly in the Czech Republic. So this is something we have already talked about previously, and it is basically our acquisition process, or the way we collect and process data to make sure that we really take care of the audiovisual artworks. So I will just mention it quite briefly, and it's something that is also based on the matters of media art research and has been discussed yesterday. So I just wanted to emphasize with this how important it is to collaborate throughout the institution. And here I have like a little slide of our team, but it's actually still just a very small part of our team. There's usually more of us collaborating. So really at heart is research and evaluation of materials and data collection from the author, which was something also discussed yesterday about how much of this process is about documentation. So for that we collaborate with the Department of Special Collections, with the Digital Laboratory, and also with the Oral History Collection, which is great because that really helps us to conduct interviews with the artists, to ask about all the necessary installation details and historical details that we should document in relation to the work. So then we also developed license agreements that we conduct with the authors, and once that is done, we start the archiving as such, which is something that Michal will be talking in more detail later on. But just to say, basically, these processes are taking place simultaneously, are not going one after another, but together with preparing the archival package, there is also the work on archival description, and once all that is processed, we also can think how people can access the archived works. So this is just to show you that we also created technical infrastructure for digitalization. So as I mentioned, we mostly work with digitalized works and materials. And so basically we take from the authors or from institutions all different kind of analog media forms, and on this specific infrastructure with our colleagues who are skilled in digitalization, we process them, and this process also often involves the author and the curators and is based on the historical research that I mentioned before. So once the whole package, all the data that we have collected is ready and checked, it can be archived, and for that we decided to use the archival system Archivmatica, and for that there is an open source system called ATOM, Access to Memory is the abbreviation, and basically because they have been developed together, so the connection of the two systems is based on a data transfer in the form of zip package. And then the online catalog ATOM works as both the internal and external interface for accessing the stored data. And that's maybe something we launched quite recently and really would like to share with you. Here is the preview of the catalog. You can find it on this website, but also there is links from the website of the National Film Archive. Here you can see in the corner login, and that means basically that there are different types of access. So what the public sees is different from what we as curators or internal people working at the archive can see and access, which is very handy because it really allows us to see all the documentation immediately if needed. So maybe I can just briefly guide you through the catalog, which is here. And yeah, for this external access, everyone can just go and browse the collection. Here is the main page with English translation on the left, but we can go through the Czech, which means that once you open the list of all the works, there is the option to search for the particular ones that you're looking for. So just for the sake of this presentation, we can, for instance, look at the films by Sagel, which is one of the important photographers and filmmakers from the 60s, 70s, working in the Czechoslovak art scene. Creator, here is the name, if you want to specify the search for the author. And now we can see all the works that we have in the collection, and then basically just easily looking at particular item, you can see all the related materials that we have and we have archived. So there is the acquisition report, conservation report, media info, and research files, but that won't be accessible to the public. What is accessible is usually, if the license agreement allowed us to do so, is the preview. So here you can also immediately see and watch the work as such. So this is a very famous performance Podsta Fafejtovi, which is a performance of Zorka Ságlová, who was throwing, maybe I can skip, from the 70s, who was blowing up condoms and then throwing them from windows. I'm showing her because it's one of the rare examples of female artist performance documented from the time. Yeah, but there are plenty, so you can just browse through the catalog yourselves, and maybe the way the catalog is structured and why it has this specific structure is something that Michal can explain.
Thank you. Yeah, maybe I will go further. You can see here what you have seen live. This is a browser of the structure, so you have to find actually the preview item, and then you can play it. So I will focus now a little bit on system of archival description. So we don't have like usual cataloging description or filmographic description. This archival description, I mean, is exactly description of the packages we have stored into long-term archival system. So that's why it's archival description. And every package which is ingested into the system is equally described in this atom catalog, which you have seen. And here on the right you see maybe usual structure, some example of structure of some package, which is actually a folder structure. When you put archival masters of the film, maybe some preview film, these reports Markéta talked about, acquisition report, conservation report, whatever. This acquisition documentation, and maybe some other documentation. Here in the example are some photos from exhibition maybe. And so that's the basic content of the package. It's good to have some systematic structure what you put into the archive, because then the description is browsable, and you know how to find something. Actually, even the archival description system allows of any kind of structure. Is good to have some to follow some guidelines, which I will talk about a little bit later. So we in the package focus also on documentation, documenting the origin and authenticity of the film or video we are storing for long term. So every information should be stored in the package to recover it later. For the archival principles, I can advertise a little bit a study which was recently published in this Arteacta of Academy Fine Arts magazine. It took quite some time to go through this review process, and it maps somehow the Czech landscape of media art from the terms of materiality, immateriality, how to use documentation, and from the viewpoint of forming the collection of collection policies regarding the actual media used through this time, which comes from film, experimental film, through video in the 80s, to electronic media, it includes some media forms which were used in performances and site-specific work, so outside the exhibition exhibition spaces, and I try to have some conclusion on archival principles. So it's in Czech, it's about Czech art, but if somebody interested and is outside of distribution scope of Arte Acta, I can give out maybe. And so let's go to the archival description. Basically, we are using ISAD standard, international standard for archival description, and we are using 3 levels of it. It's a subseries, folder or file, and item, which makes a 3-level structure of the work. And actually, this is compatible with international standard for film description. I don't have it, which uses also 3-level structure, work manifestation item. It's similar. We are compatible, but this archival description we used during because of Archivmatica and Atom supports this. This is our spine of archival system. These 2 open source softwares. So they support archival description, which has 7 levels of description. You can use other levels for structuring the collection, like to fonts, subfonts, and other kind of levels. But we focus on description of 3, and we make some guidelines, which should come out as certified methodology in this year, but it's not ready yet. We are finishing it now, so maybe at the end of the year. And we interpret these fields which are in archival description very basically described how to use maybe for archival material like documents from municipalities and historical documents. So we are using it for artworks which has authors which are moving image, so we specify in more detail what to put into these archival fields. And also it's about describing the origin. And we use for this description this acquisition report, conservation report, and the basic information of this report from the package is written in the catalog which you can browse online. So for these previews, actually they are not from the masters in the archival system, but from packages which are called dissemination packages. So it's converted to smaller size to be playable online. And actually, this item level is automatically created by Archivmatica, which you connect to the Atom description. We start with the description and then connect the ingest process to this description, and items, which are actually digital objects in the archives, are automatically connected to the description. We just fill out some little more information for that. So here is the other way of maybe you can interact with some digital objects using a social system. I will just briefly skip through it. We can talk about it maybe personally because it's quite some topic. And I will come to overview of the archival system and the processes around. I used here some process description diagrams, and at the top you can see the acquisition process with author and curator and signing the contract, making the identification, projection, and how it continues to conservator who digitizes the work, how this package come to submission package store, which is ingested into this Archivmatica and this OIS management softwares, and to ISAT archival description module is this atom, and it is connected to dissemination store. And on the right there is some archiver who manages this process. So in Archivmatica can start the ingestion process, can check if the archival package is stored okay. And on the left, this is the outside of NFA, is some artists, public researchers which access this archival system, these modules. And on the lower side, maybe I'm going to give microphone to Matej, is a depository, possible actor who puts external packages into the system to use the long-term storage, because to make such a system is pretty expensive to follow all the OIS guidelines, and run the storage is not something for every organization. It can be implemented maybe in bigger institutions. So there is possible storage of external packages on a basis of deposit contract. So on the right you see this open source modular architecture, and we are also publishing this as a documentation which can be used anywhere as a research result, which is open to use anywhere, how to implement it, and how to make such an archive for moving image. So, Matej?
Thank you, Michal, and thank you for that bridge to my only slide, which comes also from Dušan's impulse to talk about collaboration. We always say that we started, Markéta mentioned it quite neatly at the beginning, when we were approached with a collection or by a collection which had no future for itself, and we were asked whether we could take care of it. And we saw that as a great opportunity to develop certain internal processes, and at the same time we knew that we, in theory, have the infrastructure and some of the expertise needed to take care of that collection and start processing it. And around that collection we developed this research project. And it was a situation not that much different from the one you have experienced here yesterday, when PAF was offering their collection to someone to house it. So we felt back then in 2019, it was mainly there with Silva, that we should stand up to the opportunity and also take it with the responsibility that we see in accepting this offer. It's, you know, you can imagine it wasn't a donation in the sense that we would just like put the one hard drive that we've acquired on the shelf and be happy with it. It was the starting point for this research project. And ever since then, we always say that the ambition really was not and is not to colonize the field. Also, since we are coming from a slightly different context of cinema, obviously. But as the reality is, as you might have also heard yesterday, that there is still no major infrastructure in the Czech galleries and museums to take care of moving image, not to speak of any sort of more complex new media. We feel partially responsible for this area and for this landscape. but we really try to seek every opportunity we get to help others sort of emancipate themselves, help others set up the workflows and media conservation labs or just basic processes, so that we are not the only one who deal with these media and these artworks. So that's how also the project was designed. That's why we call it a research project, because as my colleagues who work on the project every day mentioned, part of it is developing guidelines and methodologies for other institutions to use, and also possibly setting up the system in a way which would enable them to house their collections with us, at least for a certain period of time. That's what Michal mentioned there on the slide he was showing. Because before that happens, before we are able to somehow together here with you as the professional community, before we see serious conservation efforts in this realm taking place in major arts museums in the Czech Republic, we are ready to house the collections somehow, at least, like speaking of the type of media we are used to, the type of media that we've been focused at within this project. But it was a project, and the project is coming to an end, so even this option is not as clear and as easy, because we, as again is the reality of working in culture in the Czech Republic, the institutions are permanently underfunded, understaffed, and very much dependent on projects. So as the project comes to an end, we are faced with this dilemma of how to scale it down, actually, and we have to scale it down to be able to sustain at least some of the practices, or how to formulate either a new project or something more sustainable than just another new project. And the kind of sustainable option there would, of course, be trying to talk with sort of our superiors in the sense of the Ministry of Culture, which is funding both us and some of the major institutions, like you've heard the National Gallery yesterday, or there's the Moravian Gallery in Brno, or also the Muzeum Umění Olomouc is funded through the Ministry of Culture. So there's, in theory, a possibility of at least trying to advocate for this kind of media with the help of the guidelines, with the help of the expertise gathered in the project, and with very specific concrete stakeholders, many of which you have seen present yesterday or would present today. The scene is not as big, but we know that this could be an option. Of course, if we hadn't had the, probably quite concrete austerity politics coming now with not only the current government, but generally speaking with the socio-economical situation that the country is facing and will be facing. So obviously there's no ideal time for that, but we still want to give it a try, to at least felt like we did try. But at the same time, we are aware that we probably have to scale down the operation. You saw the robust operation of acquisition, processing, and preservation. We will, of course, never give up on the preservation aspect, but probably in terms of the curatorial activities and the scale of on which we are able to acquire and process new works will have to be limited, because the institution will have to fund the process from within, from the current personal capacities. So that's the sort of institutional framework we are facing, and we are somehow sharing, I believe, with many of you here. in the sense of us trying to advocate for more systematic way of dealing with media art preservation that wouldn't be only dependent on project funding.
Can I have a remark? As you talk about some austerity measures, there is the same time is focus on digitization in the society, so the situation doesn't need to be too bad.
Yeah, doesn't. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I would tell you whom to tell it to, right? But just so to conclude, I'd just like to say that we are very grateful for to Dusan, Jakub, Barbara, and everyone involved, that they are also stimulating the field in not only in the region but specifically here in the Czech Republic, so that we can sort of gather things that help us advocating for something more structural than only projects. Yeah. So thank you for having us. Thank you, Dusan.
So thank you a lot. I'm really glad that our kind of two research projects coincided time-wise. So yours ran over the past, what was it, 2 or 3 years, and we started early last year. So that's really great that yeah, we were able to kind of meet while in the process. Yeah. So if there are any questions or comments.
Wysocka, Polish Film Archive. Thank you. It was super informative, and I'm like totally impressed. Congratulations. And I have many questions, but I will ask just one. You saw this wonderful and very complex graph of the process you are having, very interesting. And there was one, yeah, exactly. And there was identification projection interview. It sounds very needed and interesting. I am curious of your experiences. The short video you saw was actually a film, so I wonder how many of those, something which is often called video art, is actually the amateur gauge films. Yeah.
That's maybe to Markéta.
Sorry, maybe there were 2 questions. Was there one about
your experience on the identification, projection interviews? How deep you could go to the original master? Do the authors remember that it's not video but the film, or you need to tell them this? And how are you able to not only take the collection as it was acquisition at the time in the institution you are working with, or you could go to the artist and maybe ask about 8 or 16 millimeters or whatever it was originally?
Yeah, we usually ask for the original materials and work with the original materials, and then that's what the identification projection is for. Usually before that we do the research, so when there is materials we try to gather as much information as possible about the exhibition where it could have been shown, and the historical data, so that, yeah, artists often don't remember, but then we can assist them already during the projection, like asking if they think it could have been there, or if they have some other documentation. And it's also like a very good introduction to the work, based on which we really determine what's the right name of authorized representation, but that's a provisional title. So we kind of identify what is the file or work that we want to preserve as the master. There might be different versions, and then we preserve those different versions if they are all important manifestations that are significantly different. Not just in the slight visual differences, but they were really different versions created for different occasions or different points of time. And then, based on this, then we can conduct the interview. And for that, already both sides are quite prepared, so you can go quite in depth. And then when there is a work that actually is more complex installation, we also, which was also mentioned yesterday, we provide the artist with like a questionnaire, so they can fill in all the specifications based on questions that are about like sound equipment, projection equipment, details of the room, and so on. But usually for the interviews, we focus more on the historical side of the production of the work. Yeah, did I answer?
Yes, I just wonder if you sometimes something which was identified originally as a video, you could get the access to the original film, and what you do in such case.
Generally speaking, we try to preserve film elements. If the work originated on film, we try to have it, although, again, there might be different provisions by the authors who sometimes just really want to stick to their only original element in this very material object-focused sort of concept of theirs, of like authorship. This is the film I just like want to keep under my bed. So there are certain limits there, but I think gradually over time we are successful in explaining that the best, if they really care about those elements and objects, the best place they could keep them is with us. So it's not as straightforward as it is for us with like professional film makers. Sometimes artists have different sort of opinions about that, but we try to keep them in our vaults in the context of the other films that we preserve.
Thanks a lot. Anyone else? I have one question about this digital archive or the catalog. So there is a lot of work put into registering the works in the system. Like in this, it looks quite very detailed. So I wonder whether the amount of work put into and like cataloging the works in this kind of standards is translated into enough kind of gains for the users from the system. So what was the use of all those detailed information in practice, maybe, put it simply?
This detailed information we put there because we are trying to follow the standards, and you have to describe like license, you have to describe the origin of the like archival history, and all those information have some sense. And I can mention Luisa Kotočová, which is our archiver, doing all this description. She's working also for a research center, how do you say it in English, a research center in Academy of Fine Arts, collaborating with them. So thanks to her, we have this very complex three-level descriptions, and I think the system of the like hierarchical description is that you do not duplicate information on the lower levels. So the highest level is information about the artwork as such, which you can read maybe on some other places in books, and the lower levels, these folders and items, are exact information about the archival content, and you use it as a researcher or a public when you really need some specific information. If you need those versions, you can look through the years of the specificity of the versions. we have in the archives for the purpose or the historical context of such a version of some documentation. For pictures you need photographer, authors of the pictures to use it in publication or somewhere. So without this, without describing the licenses which people can browse through and like order some piece for exhibition or for cinema, without this it would be difficult, or the researcher would have to ask somebody who knows, and the people can be out already after the project. So it's good to have it described, and you can really find all the information or most of the information in this catalog descriptions.
Thanks a lot. I was also, since yesterday we had a lot of people talking from the museum perspective. It was also interesting to see really the registering artworks in archiving systems instead of, let's say, collection management systems that really follow different procedures. And I guess we will also dive into this further today. So if there are no more comments, I would like to thank you a lot for your contribution. And it's my pleasure to introduce our other guest, Lena Seiser, who is the managing director of Neue Berliner Kunstverein and head of n.b.k Video Forum Berlin. Lena Seiser talk is prepared in collaboration with PAF, and maybe you will announce your exhibition yourself, or shall I?
You can do it and I will.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you are all welcome to join us for the exhibition opening. Lena is co-curating tonight around, I think, at 5. Yeah, it is. Okay.
So, good morning, everyone. Thanks for the introduction, and firstly, also thanks for the invitation, for having me here. Thanks, Dujan. Thanks, Olomouc Museum. As Dujan mentioned, I'm a managing director of the Neue Berliner Kunstverein and head of the Video Forum for 2 years now. I thought I started with a very brief introduction about the institution, as I guess many of you are not, do you not know it. Neue Berliner Kunstverein is one of the first institutions for contemporary arts in Berlin, and it was founded in 1969 in the context of the student movement and out of an interest of a group of curators and cultural producers in unconventional and experimental artistic approaches of the time. n.b.k is today internationally renowned for its exhibitions and discourse program with a strong focus on politically and socially engaged art, realizing 6 to 8 exhibitions per year in 2 exhibition spaces. On the image you see, we are we're in Berlin Mitte, in the center of Berlin, and having the main exhibition space downstairs on the street level, and then on the upper floor a second exhibition space, and also our offices. And one of our 2 collections, which is quite unique, unlike other Kunstvereine. We are having 2 collections also, both were founded in the early 1970s. One is called the Artothek. It's a kind of a library for original artworks where people from Berlin and institutions can loan artworks for basically no money. And then the other one is the video art collection called Video Forum, which will be the focus of my presentation today. But I think it's important to understand we are not a museum. We're quite a small independent art institution. We're publicly funded. We're non-commercial since the beginning. And so also we're not really an archive. So I rather will focus on our history as we are one of the oldest video art collections in Germany and in Europe. The Video Forum was founded in 1971. Back then called Videothek. It held this name until 1985 and had to change it then for two reasons. One, to display a bit more about the very different activities of the Videothek or Video Forum today, and also to distinguish itself from the then growing commercial video rental stores that also in German are called Videothek. I have been, I mean, they are not there anymore. We have around 1,700 works of international video art today, which also makes us one of the biggest video art collections, public video art collections in Germany and I think in Europe. And we are mainly a place for artists, for scholars, curators, students from art schools, from universities, and for everyone interested, basically. We are open 3 days a week, or upon appointment, and make available our holdings in a space. It's on the last image. It's where you see the Farocchi. We have this facade work. This has been a work by Alfredo Jahr, and on the right side is the place of the Video Forum today since 1994. We have 3 days in the week, and we have always stuff on site that is helping people or like giving them more information if needed. Or for requests from other regions or from abroad, we offer also options for restricted digital viewings, of course. And as we are also an exhibition institution, we since the beginning have been interested also in making video works accessible in the different formats they can have in exhibitions, of course, within the institution, but also in other places in Berlin or international or via screenings. So the PAF project, for example, is one thing of one cooperation that is a good example for that. Maybe we're having the joint exhibition that will opening this afternoon, and I think it's open from 1 p.m. on already, so maybe when we have our round table we can already go there before the official opening of the festival at 5 p.m. And also I already like to invite you to a screening of the Video Forum, which is happening tomorrow at the Orangerie from 2 p.m. on. It's a screening that also shows around gives an overview about the 50 years of the collection and the different development and implementations of the media. So what you see here is an exhibition poster of the very first exhibition and work that initiated the Video Forum, because Wolf Kahlen, a Fluxus and Berlin-based artist, back then was invited to make an exhibition at n.b.k, but he suggested instead to use the money for the production of a new video work. Back then this was an idea that occurred to be a bit strange to the institution, because investing money in a kind of piece of plastic for what there was no means to show or see what was on it was was broadly discussed. But together with a small group of cultural producers that supported the idea, they made it a bigger reality. So they funded this kind of collection within the institution, and also from the beginning on tried to make it a place to make the video artworks accessible, because it was really difficult to get the technical equipment to produce and also to see them for the general public. So this all happened in 1971, and Wolf Kahlen produced his work Reversible Prozesse, reversible processes, a series of 7 performances that were back then recorded on film, 16mm film, and copied to video. Which was also the case for many other from the first so-called co-productions of the Video Forum. Beneath Wolf Kahlen, we had a work by Wolf Fostel, Désastre, in 1972, or from Rebecca Horn, Berlin pieces, and 9 pieces work, which was co-produced together with the Berliner Festspiele in 1974 and 1975, or Kapi Bremer's Walkings, number 1 to 6, from 1970s. The funding of the video forum took place in a strong exchange with the Fluxus avant-gardists and video pioneers in Berlin at the time. So there were Wolf Forstel, Wolf Kahlen, but also a handful of international artists that came to Berlin or to Western Berlin at the time, mainly through the framework of the Artist in Residence program of the DAAD, which is the German Academic Exchange Program, still running today and still an important residency program. So at that time, artists such as Robert Filiou, Mario Merz, Taka Imura, or Alan Capro came to the city and also got in touch with the n.b.k program and the circle of cultural producers that were interested mainly in happenings and performance art. So the programming of the n.b.k cooperated with the video forum or influenced it with view to, for example, exhibitions like the Aktionen der Avantgarde. It's like actions of the avant-garde. Were two today very important, back then very controversially discussed exhibitions that happened throughout Berlin in public spaces and involved international artists. This is the other two poster. Other two happened in 1974. And some of these happenings and performances were also, from the beginning on, thought to be recorded. And so, for example, one of our co-productions that was realized as a happening during ADA 1 in 73 from Alan Capro is a quite famous piece, Timepieces, which is now but also like a self-standing work. It's about 1 hour long and documents different scenes that happened back then. So many of the artworks conceived as happenings or performances survive today in the video form as documentations or independent works. Since that time, Neue Berliner Kunstverein has regularly invited artists to produce new works, and up until today, we count 40 co-productions. The most recent one is called Girl Folding a Handkerchief from Romanian artist Alexandra Pirici, as well as early works from the collection by Wolf Kahlen, Rebecca Horn, Ulrike Rosenbach. German video artists will also be included in the joint exhibition at Puff Festival, and also some of the works, but other works in the screening. So here is just an overview of all the co-productions that were realized since the beginning of the video forum. So whereas the focus originally was on production, the video forum from the beginning on also very soon was concerned with preservation, care, and public availability of documentations and video works. We were also happy to receive some early donations, for example, by Aachen private collector Hans Bakes, 58 early works also from the spectrum of performance and feminist video artists, mainly from the West German Rhineland area, which was very important in the time, also for early video artists. So we received works by Klaus von Bruch, Nan Hoover, Friederike Petzold, Ulrike Rosenbach, or Peter Weibel, who's up until today the director of ZKM Karlsruhe. I know there was a colleague in the program also from ZKM yesterday. But besides, like also having German artists, ever since the beginning, Videoforum tried to have an international collection policy, and we still try to do so today. The general acquisitions for the collection have also since the beginning been complemented by like archival holdings in form of like DVD collections that were produced in large numbers. So in order to fill some gaps that mainly for economic reasons we could not fill otherwise. and to make them accessible in this context of for research and as viewing material. But of course, we have different kind of contracts and not the same rights on these works to show them in different contexts. And also, I think it's important to mention that in the beginning, the international factor was more like based on Western Europe and the US, which had historical reasons, of course, and also was connected to the availability of the technology involved internationally. But from the midst of the 1990s on, the video forum has been opening up to Eastern European art and acquired more than 100 artists from, like works from over 100 artists from these regions, and also had its first purchases from the Arab world, Iran, China, and Japan. So also since then, Eastern European art is one of the key emphasis of the collection, besides the very early ones that kind of follow important moments in the history of the medium, such as fluxes, as already mentioned, and video performance, of course, feminist video practice, media reflective formats, as well as historical and current video art from Berlin. In recent years, there has also been an emphasis on critical documentary formats, which also are mirrored in the exhibition program of the n.b.k, with artists and filmmakers working at the intersection of video art and film, such as, for instance, Hito Steierl, Hartmut Bitomski, Ulrike Ottinger, Harun Farocki, of course, and last year we had a show with Laura Poitras, who can also be named in that context. With an interest in the possibility of making available and viewing the works, the purchasing policy of Videoforum is focused on single-channel works. We, of course, also do have multi-channel works, video installations, and so on. But we always ask the artist to also provide us with a one single-channel version to be screened on site in the Videoforum. And since the late 1990s, early 2000s, we were really lucky to be part of a very special funding scheme of the Berlin Senate for Cultural Affairs that is made for public collections in Berlin and gives us the means to acquire several new video works every year with the restriction it has to be by Berlin-based artists and we can't achieve works via galleries. So it's also means for the Berlin Senate to fund or promote Berlin artists. The mission to make moving images in its collection visible to the audience began to reach its limit in the early 2000s, to the extent that around 80% of the collection back then was on analog U-matic low band. The various generations of U-matic cassettes and U-matic players often no longer worked together. Like a tape from the 70s could have image and sound problems on a machine from the 80s, while working without problem on a different machine, which not only made it increasingly difficult to provide the audience with the possibility of viewing the material, but also made it more difficult to describe the conservational state of the tapes. In light of the fact that U-matic players were slowly pushed from the market, and in the awareness of the increasing damage to the collection holdings due to the mechanical wear and tear and the porosity of the tape material, the conservation of the works for the Videoforum became an ever more urgent problem. In order, just have a few images here, and this is one of the first viewing room situations that we had until 1971. Out of the premises of n.b.k, it was close by, but not in the same building. n.b.k was back then placed in Charlottenburg, West Berlin. So in order to maintain the collection holdings of the Videoforum, n.b.k started in 2003 and 2004 to invest significant funds in the digitalization of the holdings in MPEG-2 format, preserving them on hard drives and copying the video works to be viewed on site on DVDs. In parallel with that process, all of the works were cataloged, entered into a database, and indexed by keywords. Since 2014, more or less, the DVDs have been substituted by hard drives on which visitors can browse themselves through the whole collection when being on site at the video forum. So this was another viewing room situation. Then already in the same building, this was a time from 2004 to 2007. It was like already some from artists designed viewing space with a different kind of media players, as you can see. And then the place we are still in now, on the street level, next to our exhibition space, was newly installed in 2008 when Marius Barbiers, who's still running the institution, started as director, also in order to make it more visible to the public, of course. So here in that moment you can see the DVDs that were used back then to show the works. And yeah, and like the last years we have remodeled the spaces, also together with an artist, Frankfurt-based Silke Wagner, who designed the mobiliary in order also to use it as flexible as possible for the different activities. So of course, for the research, but also for small seminar groups or presentations. So as you can see, this is like last year, I was on with math. We had a little seminar of students there, and of course, as most videos today are digital, so we also have now possibilities to screen works within the space. Yeah. Okay, so maybe just very quickly, of course, since the digitalization, we also were able to show the holdings of the video forum internationally, and since then expanded the exhibition and screening cooperations to make it publicly accessible also in other contexts, because we do have certain like historical works that really are rarely accessible otherwise. And if you're interested, but maybe I can also just skip through, we always are looking for cooperations to show the work. For example, from 2012 to 2014, we had a very beautiful cooperation with Munich-based Sammlung Götz and the Nordstern Gelsenkirchen, which is a former coal mining site that has been turned into a historical site to show art in this tower. And so on several levels, we annually had changing exhibitions, thematic exhibitions in this very beautiful setting, because these possibilities we do not have on site in the video forum. We also had our archive showed on this monitors within the Gelsenkirchen Videokunstzentrum. And of course, we also, especially during pandemics, we developed, but also already before, regular digital screenings and presentations. We had a cooperation with French-German television network Arte, who featured a video channel on their website up until 2013. We are part of Artist Film International Network, an initiative some of you might know, where the Whitechapel, it was initiated by Whitechapel Gallery, and each year a topic is chosen and international institutions select a work of their collection or of their context to the topic, and then all the works are shown within the different institutions within that year as exhibitions or screenings, online, offline, both. It's a very nice network I can recommend. And yeah, I'm also like, have started last year with the 50th anniversary in Oral History project to gather the original voices really from the artists, from the pioneers especially, as many of them were born in the 30s and 40s, and we were still working on that. We're also working on a new website with like a broader search opportunities. So maybe this like just dropped in very shortly. I'm happy to discuss this further with you. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Yeah, thank you so much. Are there any comments, feedback, questions? Any remarks? I would like to ask about maybe this this list of artists and the works looks quite selective. Of course, you didn't show the listing of the whole collection, but I wonder about the maybe the acquisition process or the selection criteria for the works, and whether there is a board selecting or it's based on individual curatorial decisions. And
like as I mentioned, we have this funding. We're part of this funding scheme of the Berlin Senate, and there is a funding commission where all the curators of the collections come together, and they make studio visits, and then every institution makes its selection and presents it to the others, and we discuss this together. But mainly, like we are the only one to acquire video works, so. Mainly they leave it to us, so we decide this, and we try to find an interesting selection from like maybe artists that are in their mid-careers or further, and then several younger artists. So we have really a fair budget, and we try to at least like have 6 to 10 works to acquire each year, and we have then. We get to meet the artists we discuss. They give us sometimes special prizes, of course. And then sometimes also via our exhibition program, on the other programming, we try to get in touch. Sometimes we get donations, like we don't accept every donation, of course, but like right now we have a show upcoming with Mona Hatoum, and we, in this context, we're able to acquire several of her early performance documentations or video works. She has both. Which is beautiful, because we did not have a work by her or any of her early works. So there's different ways, depends, yeah.
Maybe one last question, was it also from me? So what, in terms of, so NFA have this program in which they also work together with museums, and there is also a protocol for loans. I wonder if you have in n.b.k or n.b.k whether you have any experience with loans to museums, or whether there is any kind of procedures for this, or?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we do give loans from the works, not from the archive. We can't, but for the other ones, and more the recent ones, especially because also the early works that were more like acquired with the handshake agreements. It was very different timing. So for us, sometimes it's very different to get in touch. Sometimes even people that are still alive, there is no way, like even if you try several routes to get in touch with them, or there is no estates. But yeah, of course, we do give loans, and then depending on the situation, we discuss as individual. Yeah, but yeah, we are approached regularly for loan requests.
Thank you so much. Looking forward also to the final roundtable, when we will all gather and talk to one another. Hope to kind of wake our audience up today a little bit. Well, let's see. So thank you. We have 1 hour left. I was told that we should be at Flora on time, and we should be starting at 2. So hopefully we will manage. There was a plan to have a break within the panel, but maybe we'll wait for lunch break. Then you are more motivated to keep your presentations shorter. So let me introduce Ela Wysocka, who is from who works at the Department of Film Studies and Digitization at the National Film Archive, Audiovisual Institute, Poland.
Thank you, Dusan, for inviting me. It's a really great pleasure to be in beautiful Olomouc. What I would like to talk to you today is The double life of the movies we can give, especially experimental and special film collections, cinema appearance and appearance in museum and galleries of modern art. And the pretext for this talk is our two projects devoted to the experimental films. The films from Krakow studio animation and the Semaphore. And those projects were launched between 2012 and 2019, so that they are not the newest, but I think they serve the purpose in what I would like to tell you today. The second equally important pretext for chosen topic for me today is our long-term cooperation with Zahenta Gallery of Art. Here you can see the titles of our archival exhibitions Zahenta did with us. So in such cases we are participating in curatorial research. We digitized and restored movies we chose together. We've shared the pleasure or burden of promoting, not also always easy things to be promoted, not very popular film materials. And we often provide the rights because we were owner of the films, but not always, but sometimes. So those exhibition was for us great occasion to bring together towards film archive and museum or gallery world. It was great also to see new audiences in our cinema, and also that the fancy modern museum audience is coming to the exhibition and then later learn about our institution. So our cinema is not always full, so it's always great to share the audiences. Before I will go to the main topic, I would also like to mention other collection and experimental, which is very special. We at FINA have a collection more of 13,000 unedited cutouts and raw materials for newsreels, and those newsreels are produced between 1944 and till mid-90s. They are unedited outtakes, so they are not really ready to be distributed in a cinema context, but they are very nice for curators, for recontextualization, and just giving them second life we would not give them normally in this form. So those are two exhibitions which special elements from this collection was chosen, and I am repeating, we have 13,000 of these elements, so there is something to choose from. For example, we could find a rare occasion of documentation of performance. This one is a frame from Borowski, first syncretic show performance, chosen for Museum of Modern Art in Warsaw for their Polish performance archive. So coming back to my main theme, which is experimental films from Semaphore and Krakow Film Studio. Also, I must say this theoretical and political background for all those movies is very interesting. It would be lovely also to talk about this, but because of our limited time, I will stick to creation, restoration, and exhibition practices. So we can touch briefly on the topic of digitization, and I would like to talk a little bit about how we could communicate to the audience visiting the museum what they are really seeing. I would like to emphasize the things that make them unique and important to discuss, not merely in a film archive context, but also Audiovisual Institute and Museum and Galleries of Modern Art. It's that film is not only solely belonging to the cinema and to the film archive. The essential inspiration for creating these movies was the philosophy, aesthetics, and sometimes principle of a little bit sensual or haptic experiencing these moving images. I would like to share my observation on how interests, needs, and challenges faced by film archives and museums of modern art are increasingly intersecting in contemporary practice, and how we may inspire each other on this post-analog era. I am saying post-analog because unfortunately we must admit that film is obsolete, since film is mostly digital, with extremely reduced demand. Its availability has become scarcer and very expensive. The main demand of 35mm film stock comes usually from film archives, and those institutions and clients have a limited budgets. Within it, the technical expertise that make analog restoration and distribution possible is gradually also falling to disuse. At least I'm speaking from my Polish experience, but I guess it's general experience that the labs are closing down, and also professionals losing their jobs or retiring without passing knowledge to the next generation. These days, analog film is gradually losing its last beachhead in the film museums and the institutes of art. And even then, the appearance is often seen as a radical statement. So maybe you know the artists who are really sticking to the film base art in an exhibition space, but it's really rare. So time-based work are not new guests in the gallery spaces. They were present in analog times, but it was never easy to say, easy to operate them as it is today. In case of digital files, it's very convenient. It's very easy, and showing film in their original form is not, especially right now. It's not. I collected some typical problems for you, so you can see what can go wrong if you screen film in digital video form in a gallery exhibition context. So yeah, you can guess that it's too much light, sometimes wrong aspect ratio, wrong print chosen for digitization, wrong information about original technology of the film. So there's a lot of possible problems you could encounter. So what can we do to avoid this common problems? Just to give you also to bigger perspective, I would like to mention two extreme ideas about exhibition practice for film. So from one side we see the idea of invisible cinema, expression coined by Peter Kubelka and his ongoing crusade to show film as a film, for the correct appreciation of medium of film. So in such case, you would see film in a dark room when nobody is bothering you, and it's it's shown film as a film, not in the digital form. On the second idea is about reformatting film in various possible digital formats, where curator, along with the artist, interpret or reinterpret analog-born film in a free way, using new technology regardless the original technological provenience. So regardless this never-ending debate whether digital transfer can fully capture these qualities, at FINA, on Polish Film Archive, we decided to digitize also the experimental collections, and also give our partners in such exhibition more freedom how they could show the movies. It's also by far more economically accessible for us, give us more options. But, also digitizing from original production materials in case of experimental movies created in the framework of experimental studios, we actually have negatives, which is kind of special. Yeah, so we are using original production material and give us really good control during the color grading, how it will be the final look of this original master. So we can decide of leave traces of time, leave all the technological mistakes which were originally there, but still we can look for this original look from the time the film was created. Of course, the frameworks of projects we are in, the cooperations we are in, also needs a lot of intention on popularize those films and show them in many platforms, and the digital form, of course, give us this flexibility. So there is a question if it's in such an approach that we are digitizing also experimental collection, we are losing something? And of course, I believe we do lose something. So what is still waiting to be achieved is our ability to present the capture qualities of analog experimental films in terminal end devices. For example, because conventional compression, which is needed to be presented in any device, it's very unfriendly to experimental animation, for example. If the frame is rapidly changing or for very small movement, all compression which was designed for conventional movie doesn't work so nicely. So you have a digital artifacts or our sensual perception of such movies will be different than we would have it if it would be screened to us as a film. Another stronger argument could be that film lose their value and meaning when they are shown out of their technological context. So it's something also different problem from the first one. In this approach, we may still try to simulate or emulate the aesthetics of analog film by digital means effectively, but we will initially fail because the conceptual link between the content of the image and its medium of expression will be lost. For this and for those both reasons, I am always appreciating when in exhibition spaces someone is showing film as a film. Here is you can see two examples of the artist who is always using film medium. But what can we do when we go for digitization to give the audience more information? To analyze this problem, I would like to use the example of our partnership on Antoniš exhibition. It's not the newest, but I think it will illustrate this issue quite well. Thanks to this cooperation, we were able to create the first monographic exhibition showing not only the movies, but other key elements. And the movies were shown not only in the exhibition space, but also on our cinema in a really proper dark room, nice context where audience could appreciate also all the technical details of our restored prints and preservation elements. So these findings from this exhibition, I would love to extrapolate on our other cooperation with galleries and institutions. Our partner, Galeria Zachęta, also gained access and preserved the machines, which is also very interesting, which were used originally to create this camera films by Antoniš. Antoniš also was author of those machines. All of that offered a rare opportunity to trace the creative process from the initial idea for the film or machine through the subsequent stage of its production. So I hope you can see the short movie how the machines were actually working. To facilitate making these miniature drawings, Antoniš constructed various kinds of machines based on the idea on pantograph. He drew individual frames at a slightly larger scale, and the pantograph arm with a needle mounted to the other end engraved the image at the exact scale of 35 millimeter frame. And that's the state of machine before the conservation. One of the elements of this project was the conservation of the machine. During the course of this project, we gained access to what survived from the original non-camera strips of film, the fragments of the shots, which were the great source of information for restoration purposes. Because of existing original unique materials, which usually we don't have, because the negative will be original material. So this makes this project really exceptional in our career, and it really brings us much more closer to museum exhibits than to the standard cinematographic film elements. So normally we start with negative, and this is the higher quality element we can use in the archive to scan. But in this case, we had something we could call pre-negative. So those were original positive film materials which Antoniš painted directly. But those, for many technical reasons and for safety, could not be scanned. But only those were having the original colors, used the inks he was using and many technologies he was using to also he scratched the movie and do many crazy things. And this could not be transferred to the Orvo film, which is very limited in its color scale. That's why what we have had to do, we scan the negative, but we invited the daughters who had access to this original hand-made, hand-painted material. They took it to the Magyar Film Labor. There was the place where we were restoring those movies. And for color grading, the originals were used as a reference. So you can see our work together on this. So finally, how we can bring this background information to the audience in such a way that it's enriching their experience and it makes it more truthful to the original, and the audience will understand what exactly they are seeing. Then also how to bring to the audience who at the end will see the digital file, how to bring this apparatus aura to the audience. That was the difficult task for us, and something which was our ambition. What was important that despite the fact that the movies were screened by electronic devices, we also show them on the exhibition original painted film stock, those handmade originals I was showing you. To make it even more clear and bring this more haptic elements to the exhibition and this haptic experience, because we could not let the audience touch the originals. We organized the workshops for, not for kids, but also for adults, that they could paint the film, and then they could show the film they were painting, so they could really understand how the technology works, and that they could do it also by themselves. I believe that the complex technological origin of Antoniš non-cameras, along with their formal and technological complexity, brings the preservation and exhibiting of the movies closer to museum works. And contemporary art spaces are natural homes for such experimental films. So it's for such institution as mine, Film Archive. It's an ideal partner. I understand. Those are my free notes. Yeah, I understand. I'm landing. So I would like to, you see? I would like to underline that those projects I've mentioned would not have been possible if there would be no open dialogue between artist, curator, conservator, and between institutions in general. So almost in each presentation we are saying how important it is that we are cooperating. It was here also essential. Together we film archives, audiovisual institutes, art museums and galleries, we can only together give movies their second life, but also we can bring more informed, deeper context to these movies by conducting interviews, collecting stories behind each image and documentation. We can meet both curatorial and technical challenge by building interdisciplinary teams. So here are credits only for this particular exhibition, but I am generally very grateful for my colleagues and former colleagues at FINA, colleagues in Zahenda Gallery, for the pleasure of working with them, and of course for you for your kind attention today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I would like to give floor to audience.
Thank you very much for the presentation and also for the emphasis on the film material. I think that was quite nicely summarized, the main issues that are related to that. I was really interested in how you mentioned the collaboration with Zacheta when it comes to the preservation and storage of the objects. So I was just wondering if you could say in more detail, how does this collaboration between the Film Archive and the museum that takes care of the objects work? Maybe also like in the sense of, cataloging the works.
At the end, the original objects, the hand-painted materials in this case, were in hands of the daughters of artists, and we had the proposition that we could store them for them after this exhibition. But they prefer to keep the originals. What we could do was convincing the family of the artist that through this exhibition process, we help them with cataloging what they have in their closet and help them with conservation. Our plan was, of course, that they could store it with us with good conditions, but maybe we will succeed in future. I think it's great to keep contacts with artists and the families, and hoping that our idea and friendly invitation to that we could take care of their belongings will succeed in the future. So, but also we often rent the objects for them for the exhibition or original posters, and in such case, part of our cooperation is that we or they, depending who have funds and better facilities for that, someone is making conservation. So similarly to New Media Art, exhibition is always good occasion for us to check what is the condition of particular object. So this is also always included.
Thank you. I would like to ask maybe the last question for this round. So you talked mostly, just about film, and I wonder, whether National Film Archive has any experience with video-based art or digital-born moving image.
Yes, in 2016 we were merged with Audiovisual Institute, which is also interested in video, both from amateur origin and TV origin, and the video which natural place for distribution would be internet. So we of course have the expertise, not so much for more complex multi-channel videos or installations. That would be not our area, but for sure channel video, yes. And we use, for preservation, we would use similar approach to the films which we are digitizing in a great numbers. So you could use the same approach.
Okay, thank you very much. So it was great to have insight into Polish National Film Archive and their work. Let me welcome Kateřina Drajsajtlová, who works with Vasulka with Vasulka Kitchen in Brno, a recently founded organization. How many years? 3, 4, 5 years old. And Kateřina works on the digital archive left by Woody Vasulka, and she will introduce us to the work.
So hello, I'm Kateřina Drajsajtlová, as Dusan told, and I came from Vasulka Kitchen, based in Brno. We are in basement of the House of Arts of Brno, which is an institution with which we have very strong bond and very nice cooperation. Unfortunately, this institution has no collection and has no deposit, so this was maybe one of the tasks or one of the needs we felt with my colleagues, that we would like to take care of a collection and the archive we have in Vasulka Kitchen from Woody Vasulka and other artists. I will try to be very brief. We are one of these. There are more archival projects in the kitchen, but briefly I will talk about what we have there, because it's a really wide spectrum of the material. We have physical works and as well digital works. We have VHS, mini DV, high 8, and part of this there are videos, documents, photographs, websites, and the sources of the data, software, manuals, and other further documentation. So first task was to divide the space, that we had to divide the physical objects, the data from the library, just to divide this, let's say, archive material we would like to work on. This was one task we hopefully finished. Just for we wanted to bring something interesting what we have from the machines. For example, we have transformer, which we got for a Woody's installation in 1993, which was the time when Woody and Steina Vasulka were based in Brno. It was used for automata table in the installation Brotherhood, And what is interesting, and maybe it is connected to the one topic, is that during exhibition Mystery of Memory, which was at Spielberg, it didn't went through security revision. So this machine was not able to use. It's just some interesting part. Just to show you, we have catalogs received from Woody. Above the catalogs you can see the original box. We have VHAs with the master datas, master videos. And this is just a small part of the physical things we have, but what is like the main is when I return back to my presentation, you can see the print screen from the folder from the Windows. We have in digital part, we have around 170,000 files and almost 600 folders in this type of archive. So it is like 3 main folders received from Woody and mainly from the Lenka Dolanová, who is expert, who is expert in the Vasulka artwork and Steiner artwork. So to the point, to that point is that we don't have only the videos and artworks, but we have many types of folders with material which is connected to the artwork. And for example, first you can see this is the, we took the example of the imager, which was a prototype of a machine which was with which they were experiencing experimenting with the conversion analog to digital. And this is like the result or output from this with the Woody picture. Another folder is connected to the studios, which is like a part of the work where is photo documentation from the studios where Vasulkas were working. So there are two pictures connected to the research on this type of instrument. With there is, you can see Woody Vasulka and Jeff Shear, who is one of the authors. And as well we have manuals, so you can see example of its technical documentation connected to LSI 11 microprocessor, which is used, and this type of work is based on that. The last example is like recommendations from Jeff Shear from 1985, connected to use of this machine, which is quite interesting as well, because we can see how the technology is fast and how it's evolving even in the time of the testing and creating the work itself, which is very interesting from the historical point of view. When I go back to what I would like to talk more is about the process and the method, because we are a very small institution and we have to consider like limited space, knowledge, and the sources and possibilities we have. And so I just want to briefly talk about the process, about the rethinking of what we can do with such huge material in this type of time, let's say, management, as we are not a professional institution. So we had to just, we tried at the beginning to have some clear concept and legislative behind we can use for the method or for our work. So we wanted to define what is really archive, collection, and library, because in the Czech region it's strongly divided, and it has like some context behind, which comes from history, and as well each section has a different attitude. I think I don't have to talk about it, because everybody of you know about that. So we chosen that we will took it as a collection with archive, because there are not so many personal data, but mostly the data which are connected to the work itself and its documentation, etc. So we started to we were consulting a little bit with experts like Lenka Dolanová as well, National Film Archive, Silva Poláková and Matěj Strnad, with the Museum of Arts in Olomouc with Barbara Kundračíková, Dušan Barok, and Lloyd Dunn, and Jana Horáková, who is working, or she just finished a very interesting archival project, Media Art Live Archive, for the Vasulka kitchen as well. So the main task of our projects is inventory and catalog, the database, because we would we have a strong feeling that the inventory is a base which can be used for the experiments and research, and as well we would like to provide some simple search space for people just to know exactly what we have there and how we can provide it, which is one of the strong reasons. So we created, thanks to other advisors, some output documents which were not there. So we have some basic collection manual as an instruction, acquisition document which is based on National Film Archive document, just to know how, because we have, let's say, one installation, and there is maybe in the future possibility to have a new other artwork. So just to have some document where is documented the information about the art, as well further move within the collection itself or other institutions. We created accession book, list of locations, and we are now in the progress with inventory list. So we started with single items, but it's impossible in such huge data. So we decided that we will go as well through the folder description. So how to say? We will have some items as artworks, but as well we to be manageable this type of or be at least we finish in some time range, that it's good to use folder description, and we need to define which data exactly we need to get and fill in, and which where is sufficient only description to have some space which can be maybe later on used for researchers or students, or some platform for cooperation. So behind this brainstorming map, it's just example of or some print screen from this n.b.k database source. So many cues and questions are appearing, of course, but one was what was interesting for me, as I came more from the archival background, that we decided not to do any scartation and not to change and delete anything. So, which has advantages and disadvantages, of course. So we decided to leave these folders and whole the thing as it is, and which of course has strong disadvantages because there are many files, many times, different data qualities. There are files in different folders. For example, if we are talking about web pages and all the sources and HTML data, it's repetitive and part of is functional, part not. But thanks to the folder description, we can do that because we found out that if we will have an inventory or database where will be the description, the researcher can go inside and do the research for themselves, let's say, or they can see the way how the files were treated by the author itself, how sometimes there are something forgotten, or it's just like personal insight to the computer of the author itself, which we found that it can be interesting from this perspective. So this lets us as well that we have to define to which extent and precision we should go, and so of course we need to use measurements like size and quantity. As well, we are going through and try to write there the personal and people, because these are things which are people interested in. As well, the shortcuts of the files, which can be interesting from the technical perspective. And the main task is to find out the keywords, because at the end, it can help with the searching. Here you can see, for example, the drawing of articular, and as well one of the folders, which is especially for this articulator final. What was interesting, we found inside that there is a backup of the computer from 70s, 80s, so there's as well sometimes personal data. So it's very interesting in this time. So I'm going to the end. So our result should be database. It is a data entry in the direction folders up to items. And as well, we would like to keep it open for further descriptions, let's say. We have as well next steps, which is like unification of terminology and keywords, which will be essential for this. And we are preparing this, and now we are starting to work on upload files for a database, like which we decided this Excel file will be used for this upload, just to save the time. So this is it, I think, from my point of view. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So we have a representative of another almost local organization in Brno, not so far. We have a question.
Hi, I'm Gina Chang from the National Museum of Norway. Thank you for the wonderful presentation. I have a question regarding, do you have a plan for preservation of the computer and kind of how all thing elements in the computer? What is your kind of preservation and kind of exhibition display?
Unfortunately, there is no preservation in this institution or a preservation in this like professional part, like because there is no deposit, there is no conditions for the storing the material under correct temperatures and this type of field. So, but I believe there were some discussions. Unfortunately, my colleagues are not here who are like more in this field.
Yeah, because because there are several strategies and there are examples. For example, Emory University, they acquired the computer of Salman Rushdie. So they use, one of the techniques you can look into is digital forensic. So you, in a way that digital kind of take pictures of whole, operating system software. So you can also then a lot of kind of custom built softwares or kind of using the kind of commercial, so you can also emulate. So what they do in the Emory University is that they have it, people cannot actually kind of go into touch a computer, but they can kind of interact with the kind of Salman Rushdie's computer that last day his desktop. So in a way that can be another kind of exhibition strategies. Also it kind of correspond to the preservation tactics.
It's wonderful. I think we will ask you more about that later on.
Okay, thanks a lot. So, what was it, two and a half years ago, Vasulka Kitchen Brno organized this day-long symposium with quite similar topic as we have here, these 2 days. So, wonder from your perspective, how would you describe maybe change, like how the organization was affected by this event, and whether you could see, okay, this was Vasulka Kitchen before and after this symposium. So you really had guests from a lot of different places and wonderful talks, and also in this landscape, not just Czechia, but in a wider region, it was also quite unique event for where media arts preservation was discussed.
Unfortunately, personally, I could not join the conference, but I think what is very nice at the space of Vasulka is this, that people started to meet there, and they are like cooperating in the perspective of the. There are like now some talks and exhibitions and residents, so they can work with the material there, so as well. But maybe I did not get the question properly. Sorry, Dusan.
Well, there was also this book published, so I guess there was it was quite a learning. Well, for all involved, and I wondered what Vasulka Kitchen kind of took out.
I think what we took is the way how we can treat the material. For example, I'm sometimes very conservative, so for me it was like nice to more open and relax in this data entry attitude. Like that, I can describe the folder, and it's a very simple answer, but just how to find new ways and not to be collaborative only at the beginning, but as well how to open and give the, let's say, the base for others, like to have a space, because we don't have power to create, for example, categories for everything, because it's so wide range of material, and we are not experts in these fields. So definitely there is an open space like for this type of cooperation. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Or maybe keep it for the roundtable. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. And we're approaching the end. But last but not least, we have Håvard Oppojen, presenting from Oslo, where he works at the Videokunstarkivet at the National Museum of Art, Architecture and Design. Let me see if we can hear you. Can we? No. Can you unmute? So we can see you now on the big screen, Håvard. Can you unmute yourself? Or do I have to do it? Can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes. Oh, what is this? Yeah, yes, I can.
You can't hear me?
We can. You can start.
Hello, you can hear me? Hi. So this works. I think I have to mute the stream, maybe. The sound is okay? Hi. I just have to mute the stream, and I hope you can hear me loud and clear. It's nice to join you from Oslo. Thanks to Dusan and the rest of the team. And of course, I really wanted to go there, but I couldn't. So here I am from a distance. I'd like to give you a brief, short presentation of the video art archive, which has been up and running for a bit over 10 years. I think I'm gonna share a few slides. Yes. Firstly, about myself, I have been working within the field of film archiving for, well, since the late 90s. At first at Norwegian Film Institute, and then at the National Library for quite some years. And then I joined this Videokunstarkivet project January last year. The video art archive has been up and running, like I said, since, or as you can see here, since 2011. It was established as an external project, funded through the Arts Council of Norway. And the intention was, it was sort of an initiative from some of the video art artists in Norway, because they were thinking of how could they preserve the video art? How could they stop the video art from getting lost or disappearing? So they managed to get up this project dealing with doing research and finding video art in Norway from back to the 60s, to the 70s, 80s, 90s at the time. One moment. It's a web portal, and you have to get access to this portal for searching and streaming some of the content. It's not for the public, but it's for most people with a reason. So if you're dealing with the art through a museum or a gallery or an institution of some kind, or if you're an artist, you can get access to the video art archive. It's an archive, but it's not really an archive, and it's not a collection, but it's sort of a way to make a catalog of video art in Norway, or video art which has been presented or displayed or exhibited in Norway. For time-based art, as we call it, or new media, as you call it, and there's a lot of names on this. Moving image media. It's about everything that has moving images as part of the artwork. So from the beginning, they were trying to collect and trying to approach a lot of the pioneer artists in Norway to get them into this project, to get them to let the video art archive get access to their works, to video files, to films, so that they could be displayed in through this portal. It is also functioning as a storage for the artists, so that they can use this as a backup or backup of the files, sort of an extra backup. And I said it's not an archive, it's not a collection, and it's totally on the side from the rest of the collection here at the National Museum. When it was decided the year before last year through the Ministry of Culture and the Arts Council, they wanted the National Museum to be the home for the video art archive, to be in charge of the administration of the archive, so that it could be going on like it had been doing for the last 10 years. And it's, like you can see here, it's voluntary for the artists to contribute, and it's free of charge. And the goal is to keep sort of or build up a sort of as good catalog as possible for all video art or all experimental film art in Norway. Like I said, you can get access as an artist, and you can get access as a curator or a historian or a scholar in need of such a tool to search for video art and to search for or to enter your own art as an artist. I just go briefly through this, and I'll give you a small peek inside the portal. It's quite a simple, easy to use web portal. Free text searches. You can search for artists. You can search for artworks, and I will show you in a minute how it looks. Like I said, it's where's the it's one slide missing, but like I said, it has been growing quite a lot, especially over the last couple of years. So this means it's right now, by March 2022, we're closing up to 4,000 artworks or documentation works, because we are the archive is open for documentation as well. Documentation to artists, to artworks on display, exhibited at some gallery or museum, and right now it's a bit over 1,000 artists or artist groups within the archive. And of those nearly 4,000 works, a bit over half of the works are have video files. So you can see, and that's the main thing about an archive. It's an audiovisual archive. It's not that interesting if you can't see any videos. So I think I can only let us in. And of course, you're all welcome. So please get in touch with me if you want access or if you have questions. So this is how the portal looks like. Like I said, it's quite simple. It's quite primitive, like an internet site from 20 years ago. This is the site for the public. Anyone can see this site. It's a lot of information about the background for the project. You can go through reports. You can go through a series of conversations with some of the pioneering artists, and you can even get this information in English if you want. There is a list of works of the video works included. This is a list from late January, so it's not up to date. It's got a. I can hear you. Okay, sorry. There you are. Is it okay? I'll go back to the front page. Like I said, a lot of information, and unfortunately, a lot of information in Norwegian. But like I said, also it's an English site for the main information you need to get what to see this archive is about. And I went to the list of works, which is also quite simple, with the name of the artist, the name of the title of the work, what year it's from, and some of the works also, if it's put in the catalog, you can see what format and length in running time. So when you get access, you can log in, and this is what you see, and this is what I sort of mentioned. Like, it looks like the late 90s internet. It's very simple, very basic, easy to use. You can search in free text. You can search for artworks. You can search for artists, or you can search for both. Just put in a keyword, a name, anything. Yet there are just a few parameters to narrow a search. I'm really hoping to improve this. But so far, you can search by the exact year. I'm hoping to get the possibility to search for a year span, for instance. You can search by type, and that's the two. If it's an artwork or if it's a documentation work or piece. And this is also sort of a long-term work with the archive. It's a work in progress. You can search by collection, such as all works at the National Museum, or at the Henny Jonstad Art Center, or the Code Museum in Bergen, or a museum in Trondheim, etc. The list will get way longer, I hope. Just a couple of examples. And yesterday, some of you mentioned n.b.k, and I have to say this is not an archive for Norwegian artists only. A lot of non-Norwegian artists live in Norway and work in Norway, and they are. We include every artwork that has been exhibited in Norway, or that's the goal for this. But from the historic archives, and this was at the Henny Jonstad Archive or Art Center, which has been dealing with contemporary art since the late 60s when they established the center. So if I search for n.b.k, I found a post with his name, and under you got just a handful of works by n.b.k. And as you can see, those videotape type of logo pictures are the works without a video file. But here are two with a file, and this is sort of documentation, edited recordings from a Fluxus concert. So it has, at one time, years back, come to the Henny Jonstad Art Center collection. If I search for another example, I search for an artist named Kjartan Slettemark. He's a Norwegian artist, a late artist, quite well known both in Norway and Sweden. He lived in Sweden for many years. So this is the catalog part for Slettemark. You can find links to a biography. You can find other links. And as we scroll down, we can find a list of works registered in the video archive. And as you can see, only a handful of his works are digitized and entered as well. So as a small peek inside a work, which also is held by the National Museum, you can see that such like this one, it's not a massive amount of information. It's only a title, an English title, the name of the artist, production year, length. You can see that it's a Super 8mm original, and there is mentioned one exhibition that screened this artwork back in 2013-14. So this is something I work with to enrich all the metadata, both of the technical and the the scripted type, because we need to do so to get a better archive, a better catalog to search through for instance, a curator looking for a theme for an exhibition. I will also show you, because this portal, and I forgot to mention, this is the software is built on a DAM system called, or by resource space, and we haven't. We should improve a lot of things inside here, such as how to display multi-channel video, multi-channel audio work, maybe also with physical elements within the installation, because it's very hard to display such an artwork at a website. So we have some small easy ways to combine several titles within the database. It's all in yes. Okay. Just this short example how we deal with the sort of the multi-channel works, like this one. It's a 3-channel video by an artist called Marit Følstad. Here you can see all the channels edited as one, and this source is related to all 3 of them separate. So this is a way to display such a multi-channel work and sort of trying to describe how it was, how it worked, how it should look like, and also in all these descriptions here. Yes, of course, here you can see there are screening instructions, and this is by the artist herself, quite detailed, describing how her work has to be displayed at an exhibition. Yes.
Thank you so much.
So that's a quick and brief go through the video art archive. And like I said, you're very welcome to join. Send me an email, ask for access. And Dusan, he knows this archive because he's been a user for several years.
Yeah, thank you so much. Okay, so yeah, there are some people in the audience here, and I wonder if anyone has any comment or question or remark. So you said the archive is this online online version of the archive is accessible to researchers. And then I didn't notice before also this information about collections appended to each video. So how does this work? Are these video like single multi-channel videos part of the collections of those museums, and then you have a kind of a digital presentation copy, or what is the relation with these collections and your archive?
I think the idea to have this sort of a central catalog helping out a curator to find an artwork and to get information about who holds an edition of this work. Like I said, everyone it's voluntary. So I have been in touch with hundreds of artists because we had to ask the artists to join us to upload their works. And I have also approached a lot of museums and galleries and asked them if they could give us information about their collection, but they can only give us metadata, descriptive metadata. They can't give us a file of the work, of course, because all of that we have to deal with the rights holder for the works. But I think the idea is to have sort of a good catalog where to find the information you need as, for instance, as a curator or as a scholar or historian, so that you can find that this specific artwork are held by this museum and that gallery. Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. It was really great to also have your input, even remotely. So thank you a lot for the presentation. And I would say we are finished with the panel. And then we will have a lunch break. And after the lunch break, we will continue in a different venue, in a roundtable, in which we will limit the guests to only on-site participants to keep things smooth. So hopefully we will be able to meet in an event setting on another case with you, Howard. So thanks a lot. And I'll maybe just logistically, I was told the start of the roundtable is postponed until 2:30. I'm not sure whether it means that it's shorter, but we will find out. So we have luckily, hopefully enough time for lunch. And yes, it's about half an hour walk to get there. And if you look at your maps, it's in the program it says Hall G, but it's at least in Google Maps is under Pavilion G. So that's how you can find the exact address in case you lost. Pavilion G Flora, and we are starting 2:30. So thanks a lot.